Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Cage. I am your host, Jim Graham, and joining me on the line, we have a special guest. He will be fighting June 13th for UFC 188 down in Mexico City. He is Mr. Efrain Escudero, and Efrain, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on.
Now, of course, we are here in June. Summer is coming up, so are you excited for summer?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for summer. You know, we've been having a cold, a weird winter, here in Arizona. It goes up and down, and, I'm ready to hit the pools and ready to do all that fun stuff.
Now, of course, just a few months ago, you got to film Tough Latin America 2, and you got to be one of the coaches on this season, International Ultimate Fighter, and I just want to know, overall, how was the experience coaching on this season, The Ultimate Fighter, for you?
It was great, man. I had a great group of guys. Everybody was great, man. Everybody in the show was great. Not only was they great on my team, but the guys on Team Gastelum, they were awesome, man. They were great fights, great. It was a great feeling to be out there and coaching, and closing my circle, such as, I won the show back when I was 21 years old, and now I come back, and at 29 years old, I was the head coach, which is pretty amazing.
Now, of course, you were just coaching, but how was the experience, in terms of going in there every day into the gym coaching, as opposed to it was when you were competing on the show, like you said, back when you were 21?
It was good, man. It was a great atmosphere. The guys, it's a lot of responsibility when you step in there. You have a lot of guys like myself when I was in there that, they believe in you as a coach. So I had to give my 110% because I had to be a little more focused just because I wanted them to succeed. Their life is about to change, and they're about to become like celebrities and stuff, so I had to go out there and do as much as I could.
Now, of course, one of the main reasons Tough exists, other than building up stars for the future for the UFC, is have the two coaches fight each other. This is one of the few seasons where obviously the coaches will not be fighting each other. Your opposing coach was Kelvin Gastelum. Do you think it would have changed your experience, or maybe do you wish you would have fought the opposing coach in this instance?
Not really. I think it was better like this for the sole matter of us. I got to get more to the guys, and I was able to meet both teams. I was able to interact with both teams. Calvin's a good friend of mine. We grew up together, and being on the show together, it just made it very friendly, competitive wise. We went from the same high school under the same coaches and stuff, so. We went out there and we were giving everything we had, and all we cared was friendly competition.
Now, of course, just real quickly on Kelvin, he's had some trouble with his weight, making the 170 limit. The UFC has kind of forced him to go to 185, and just kind of with you knowing him, do you think he'll be all right at 185, or do you think that eventually down the road, since he is a young guy, that he'll be able to get, his weight cut under control and, he can actually have a future at 170?
I think he's going to fight probably once to make the weight. We have guys like Henry Cejudo that did that, he went out there, made the weight, and then ask the UFC to come back at welter, and he's going to come back and tell the UFC to go at welter, which is pretty good. I think that's where he belongs. Some of the guys, Kelvin is a very big guy, but, some of the guys that are cutting, just for a guy that's a younger weight class, he's younger, and he can do an easier weight cut than a lot of people, so I think he should be pretty good.
Now, obviously, if Kelvin wasn't chosen to be your opposing coach, was there someone that maybe kind of throughout your tenure in MMA and in the UFC that you maybe would have liked to had a chance kind of coaching against, and then kind of leading up into the fight at all?
No, not really. I'm just kind of when it comes to fight-wise, I'm looking forward to Drew Dober. I don't care who it was, or what or anything. But as of before, when was I planning on having a set coach or somebody that I would see the coach against? No, not really. I'm just kind of hoping. I'm just glad and blessed that the UFC gave me the opportunity to be a head coach of the Ultimate Fighter.
Now, as people know, the season that you coached on, Tough Latin America 2, will debut August 26th. Of course, will be shown on local television in Mexico and most of Latin America. And, of course, fans here in the United States and Canada can watch on the UFC Fight Pass. And for fans that are going to be ready to tune in on August 26th, what should they expect from this season of The Ultimate Fighter?
Expect some great fights. It's great. There's going to be coming to me from a fight fan. Some of the fights that were in there, man, I even stopped coaching. I forgot I was coaching. I was all into those fights. I was like, holy cow. So I recommend everybody to watch these fights. They're amazing. You won't be disappointed. The guys, great group of guys. They left it all in there. And, it's a friendly competition all the way around. We had some fun. We did what we had to do. And that's all was it.
Jim Graham talking with UFC fighter Efrain Escudero up ahead of his fight at UFC 188. And before we get to that fight, Efrain, I want to talk about your last fight, UFN Broomfield, back on Valentine's Day. And in this fight, your opponent, Rodrigo de Lima, he dropped down from welterweight for this fight. And I was wondering at all, because of that, was he hard to deal with physically?
No, not really. I don't really care. I train with guys that are monsters. I train with guys like Jody Riggs, which he's just a welterweight and he hits like a truck. So, I'm not going to get in there and took it out with him. Nobody's going to hit me harder than that guy. I look just with, five-time world champ, Augusto Mendez, who, he's won all the Dobbies, he's done everything. So nobody's going to, be best jiu-jitsu with him. And I wrestled with Benson Henderson and all those guys, and, the home mix and everybody in there, former UFC champ. So there is no way that, I was stepping in that octagon and he was not going to bring anything I've never seen before.
Now, in this fight, it seemed like you had much improved striking from your fight before back in September of last year. Was that something you were looking to do, showcase your striking in this fight?
No, I don't really, for the Broomfield, I was just there to fight. I train like that. Just how I fight that one time, that's how I train every time, and I was able to come out with a determinative win, and, it's just time for the world to see what I actually do, It was very hard for me to implement the way I train into the way I fight. I was always more cautious and, I want to let my hands go. I always thought about, what if he does this, what if he does that? Well, you know what, I kind of stopped thinking. That was my mentality. I wasn't thinking, I'm going to let this showcase my hands. I stopped thinking. I just said, screw it, if you're going to knock me out, but I'm ready for that. I'm ready for somebody to crack me so hard to open my eyes on the ground trying to hold on to something. When I have that mentality, eventually it's going to catch up to me, but as of right now, at 29 with my head movement and my footwork, that's going to happen. But, I go out there and I can see that all in the cage. And for the longest time, I never did that. And until my last fight, I did that. And then I expect the same thing for this fight. I'm going out there and I'm duking it out and I'm having some fun.
Now, you hit him with a lot of hard shots in this fight, especially you had a great overhand right, and you also landed some very nice uppercuts. Did you think you were going to be able to finish him?
I tried, man. I don't usually go in there and think, I'm going to down the line. No. I went in there and I threw my punches. I left it all in there. I punched him as hard as I could. Over repeatedly. I elbowed him. I moved. I did what I had to do. But, at the end of the day, he had a good chin, so he was able to survive everything.
Jim Graham talking with Efrain Escudero, getting to his fight here at UFC 188 against Drew Dober. Of course, as people know, you're from Mexico. You're proud to be Mexican. So How much does it mean to you to be fighting in Mexico City for this fight here at UFC 188?
I mean, fighting in Mexico is great. It's just like a dream come true. I've had a lot of fun. I've done a lot of things in my career. But, fighting in Mexico is something that I always wanted to do. I'm excited.
Every fight is a must-win, and, you've had a lot of big fights in your career, fighting for the contract for the Ultimate Fighter. But would winning in Mexico be the biggest win for your career?
Every fight is a big fight, I've had a lot of good fights, I've beat some people that are out there, and, for me, it's not so much about that, I just need a win. I don't care, if it's the biggest win or not. I just need a win. Whatever it takes, I will win. Saturday, June 13th, I will win. I don't care how it is. I already determined, there's no way that I will lose in Mexico City in front of my crowd.
Now, we're about a little over a week until weigh-ins for your fight at UFC 188, but how is your weight looking at right now?
Right now, I woke up at 172. My weight is coming down perfect. I'm doing everything right to be down there.
Now, your opponent at UFC 188 will be Drew Dober, and I'm sure you saw his last fight down in Brazil. Before we get into, what you plan to do to him and everything and what he brings to the table, what did you think of that decision against Drew Dober by the referee? Just your thoughts, just as a fellow fighter. I
thought it was a bogus call. I didn't really like it. I think it was dumb. He wasn't even in a guillotine, and he napped. The referee stopped it, said it was, but hey, I like Drew. Drew's like a cool guy, whatever. I respect him as a man, as a fighter, and as a person. I don't know him as a person. I've seen him in some of his fights. And, I respect him. I wish him the best. But, he's stepping into the octagon against me. No hard feelings. But, hey, I got to pay the bills. I'm going after that.
Now, do you think because of that decision against Drew, do you think that maybe he'll come out more aggressive than usual against you in your fight?
Yeah, man, I really don't. It really don't matter. It looks like he has the same pace, When he got that win over Jimmy Carter, and then he comes out, he had a little momentum coming on his way, but I don't really care what he got. He's gonna, if he wants to be a front runner and he wants to come out there and, get all crazy at the beginning of the round and then, that's out throughout, whatever, I'm there for a 15-minute reward, no matter where it goes or where it takes us. I'm ready to go.
Now, of course, as a lot of people know, Mexico City at a very high elevation, even higher than where you fought in Denver. And obviously, you're kind of used to elevation. You've trained in Arizona for so long that has a lot of elevation, and you had no problem with your conditioning back in Colorado in February. So do you think kind of that advantage of training at altitude will give you an advantage here in this fight?
No, not really. I train regardless of where it is. I train super hard. I train for elevation. And I just train for a war. It don't matter if it's a lot of people pay a lot of attention. And I know it's something very important, elevation and having the lungs and capacity. But guess what? I push myself so hard. My goal every time in the gym is to try to break myself. That's what I've been trying to do this whole camp. I've been trying to I tell my strength conditioning coach every time, what? Today I want to see if you can break me. And by what I mean, break me is not get tired and sit down. I want to be able to crawl out of the gym being man, that practice was so hard. And guess what? When I have that mentality, I don't care about elevation or no elevation. I'm as you guys saw my last fight, that's what I did, man. I just trained super hard to be able to go as much as I want to go. No matter how high elevation is, how low, whatever, I'm ready to go.
In your fight against Drew Dober at UFC 188, what are you going to have to do to be successful against him?
Do my game plan. I just have to stick with my game plan and I will be successful.
All right, Efrain, I'll get you out of here with this, the main event of UFC 188 for the unification of the interim and heavyweight UFC titles. Cain Velasquez against Fabricio Verdum. Who do you have in that one?
I got Cain. Cain's a friend and a monster.
He is Mr. Efrain Escudero. He will be fighting Drew Dober at UFC 188 from Mexico City, Mexico, Saturday, June 13th. You can watch his fight on the FX portion of the prelims starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Efrain, thanks for coming on the show. Wish you the best of luck in Mexico City on June 13th.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, and, hope to talk to you guys soon.
Once again, that was Efrain Escudero right here on Beyond the Cage.